Chosen one, lately you've felt eyes on you even when you're alone. The air shifts when you enter a room, conversations pause mid-sentence, and energy changes when your presence fills the space. It's not your imagination. Something in the unseen has been observing, studying, and reacting to your every move. You were marked the moment you chose light over illusion, and since then your steps have drawn attention from forces both physical and spiritual. Some watch with admiration, others with fear, and a few with envy, but all for the same reason: your energy cannot go unnoticed anymore. Before we go deeper, take a moment to stay with this message until the very end. Comment your warmest wishes and 777 below to align your spirit with protection, clarity, and divine favor. Let that number carry your intention across the universe like a signal of light, declaring that you are untouchable, that your peace is protected, and that your purpose cannot be interfered with. When you write it, you are releasing your fear into faith and your doubt into destiny. Remember, what is written with pure energy echoes far beyond this moment. Now listen closely. There is a reason you've been feeling watched. You've been moving differently, thinking differently, and vibrating at a frequency that the average soul cannot comprehend. Your growth, your silence, your glow, it has not gone unnoticed. People around you sense that something about you is shifting, but they can't quite define it. They watch to understand it, to decode it, to see what fuels it. But they'll never truly grasp it because it's not something visible, it's divine orchestration. When you are chosen, the light around you becomes a beacon, and everything, both light and shadow, turns to look. You have to understand that your elevation triggers observation. Every step you take forward reveals truth to those still bound by illusion. Your calm confuses those who thrive on chaos. Your faith irritates those who live in fear, and your peace exposes those who have none. That's why they study you, because your existence contradicts their understanding of strength. You move with grace where others would break. You speak softly, yet your presence carries weight. That balance between power and humility is what unsettles the world. They want to know how you do it, how you keep standing, how you keep shining, how you still choose love after betrayal. But not everyone watching you wishes you well. Some monitor you out of curiosity, others do it out of envy. They linger in silence, collecting fragments of your life, waiting for weakness to appear. Yet what they fail to see is that the chosen are never truly vulnerable. Your protection is spiritual, not visible. Every attempt to understand or mimic your essence ends in confusion because the source of your strength cannot be studied. It can only be lived. Your steps are divinely ordered, and that means no amount of human interference can rewrite your path. There are those who try to copy your words, your style, even your glow, thinking that by mirroring you, they can capture your light. But what they don't realize is that imitation without alignment is just emptiness wearing a disguise. The universe doesn't bless performance, it blesses authenticity. You were never chosen to be liked, you were chosen to be seen, to be misunderstood, and yet still stand firm in your truth. Every time they try to observe or imitate, they end up witnessing their own limitations reflected back at them. You are the mirror that shows others who they are. At times, this awareness can feel heavy. You might find yourself withdrawing, craving solitude, feeling drained after being around certain people. That's because their energy doesn't just watch, it clings. It attaches itself to your vibration, trying to draw from your strength. This is why spiritual boundaries matter. You cannot control who observes you, but you can control what you give access to. Every word you speak, every action you take, carries frequency. That's why silence has become your shield. It protects what can't yet be understood. When you start protecting your peace, people will call you distant. When you stop sharing your plans, they'll call you secretive. But remember, observation loses its power when mystery becomes your language. You've learned that not everything sacred must be seen. The less they know, the safer your mission remains. Not everyone watching you is an enemy, but not everyone is a friend either. Some simply orbit around your energy, curious, unaware that their fascination feeds your growth instead of hindering it. Even the eyes that watch in envy become witnesses to your evolution. The spiritual truth is this: being observed is a sign of activation. When your destiny awakens, it sends ripples into the unseen. Both divine and dark energies turn their gaze toward you. The universe watches to bless. The shadows watch to distract. That's why discernment is vital now. You must feel beyond faces, listen beyond words, and see beyond appearances. The next time you sense someone watching, don't react with fear. Respond with awareness. Know that observation only means recognition. You've been seen because you've been marked for purpose. Every chosen soul goes through this phase, the moment when isolation feels heavy and visibility feels invasive. You'll want to shrink, to disappear, to make yourself small again. But don't. You were never meant to hide. The more you embrace your truth, the more your protection expands. The universe didn't give you light to keep it covered. It gave it so that others could see through you what endurance, faith, and divine favor look like. Yes, you are being watched. But that's because your life itself is a message. They're watching to see if you'll fall, but they'll witness you rise. They're watching to see if your faith fades, but they'll witness it deepen. They're watching to see if your silence means defeat, but they'll learn it means wisdom. Every observer, whether hidden or visible, will become evidence of your resilience. You were never meant to escape the eyes of others. You were meant to teach them what grace looks like under pressure. You'll reach a point where you no longer fear observation because you'll understand the truth. You were never meant to move in secrecy, but in sovereignty. Your life is a signal to others that divine purpose cannot be disguised. Every gaze, every whisper, every subtle resistance is fuel for your transformation. You are not the one being studied, you are the one revealing truth simply by existing. That's the paradox of the chosen. You're watched, not because you're weak, but because your strength terrifies what's false. So move boldly. Walk with the awareness that every eye fixed on you is part of the divine plan. You don't need to defend your light, just keep shining. Let them watch. Let them question. Let them wonder, because in time, even those who once doubted you will have to admit that what protects you isn't luck, it's purpose. And purpose, once awakened, cannot be contained, copied, or controlled. The feeling of being watched has become familiar now. It follows you like a quiet echo, hovering behind every step you take. You sense it not just in the physical world, but in the spaces between thoughts, in energy, in silence, in the way the air shifts when you walk into a room. It's not fear anymore, it's awareness. You've learned that what observes you doesn't always have eyes. Sometimes it's people studying your path, sometimes it's unseen forces trying to understand your strength. But they all share one truth. They recognize the light you carry. You've become an anomaly in a world addicted to shadows. The more you rise, the stronger the attention becomes. You'll notice how people start speaking your name when you're not around, how they discuss your moves, your energy, your silence. They can't quite define you, and that frustrates them. They analyze you because they can't categorize you. They monitor your actions, trying to predict your next step, but your moves are no longer logical. They're spiritual. And that's what confuses them most. You're not operating from fear or ego anymore. You move from intuition, from divine timing, from an inner knowing that doesn't follow human rhythm. That kind of movement cannot be tracked, only witnessed. When you reach this level of awareness, your light becomes both magnet and mirror. It draws people in, but it also reflects their true selves. That's why some stay near you. They see their potential in your presence. But others grow uneasy because your existence confronts the illusions they hide behind. The energy of a chosen soul is revealing. It exposes truth in everyone it encounters. Some will be inspired by it, others will resist it, and a few will try to control it. They'll pretend to support you, but their curiosity isn't always pure, it's investigative. They want access to your peace, not to protect it, but to understand how it remains untouched. This is why discernment is your greatest protection now. Not everyone who smiles is safe. Not everyone who applauds is sincere. Some observe only to imitate, to gather fragments of your essence and wear it like a mask. But imitation always exposes itself because authenticity carries a vibration that can't be replicated. Those who mimic your light without doing the inner work eventually burn out. They lack the source. You, however, are the source. You're connected to divine flow, and that connection makes you untouchable. You may feel spiritual interference from time to time, drained energy, sudden doubt, emotional heaviness that seems to appear from nowhere. That's what happens when too many eyes focus on your frequency, but you've learned how to transmute it. You ground yourself in silence, you pray, you detach, and suddenly their energy dissolves. They can watch, but they can't reach. You're protected not by walls, but by alignment. The universe shields those who move in truth, and every time you honor your intuition, that protection strengthens. In this season, your privacy becomes sacred currency. You'll feel the urge to say less, to post less, to share less, not because you're hiding, but because your mission is evolving. You've realized that not every revelation deserves an audience. The watchers crave access, but the universe is teaching you restraint. The less they know, the more powerful your movement becomes. Mystery is your new armor. Silence has become your strategy. And through it, you begin to understand that being observed doesn't mean being vulnerable. It means being valuable. Some of the eyes watching you belong to those who once underestimated you. They remember when you doubted yourself, when your faith wavered, when you were still learning your worth. They thought that version of you would never rise. But now, they watch quietly, pretending not to notice while secretly trying to understand how you became so grounded. They're not just watching your success, they're studying your peace, because peace that strong is rare, and it makes people question their own chaos. But remember this, the more attention your spirit attracts, the more responsibility you carry. The universe isn't just protecting you for your sake, it's preserving your purpose. You're being observed because your path influences others, even those who never speak your name aloud. Your resilience inspires change silently. Every time you keep your composure under pressure, someone watching learns strength. Every time you choose forgiveness instead of revenge, someone observing learns love. You're teaching without even knowing it. You're being studied not by enemies alone, but by future healers, dreamers, and believers. So don't shrink. Don't dim your light to escape the eyes that follow. Let them see the truth. How you move with grace, how you forgive quietly, how you rebuild without announcement. Let them see what divine power looks like when it's wrapped in humility. You don't need to fight back against what watches you. You only need to stay aligned. Because when you're aligned, even the ones sent to monitor you end up witnessing miracles they can't explain. Every chosen soul reaches this stage. You outgrow invisibility and step into spiritual transparency. You're no longer hidden, but you're still untouchable. Observation cannot harm what's protected by divine law. The watchers may continue watching, but they're only seeing what the universe allows them to see. You've become a mystery they'll never solve, because the truth of who you are lives beyond their perception. You were never meant to be understood, you were meant to be revealed. And as this revelation unfolds, remember, being watched is not a curse. It's confirmation. The spotlight of attention doesn't burn you because your soul has already learned how to shine without fear. Let them monitor. Let them whisper. Let them wonder. You are still moving, still glowing, still protected. They're seeing your journey, but they will never touch your destination. There's something deeper behind the feeling of being watched, something that goes far beyond human eyes or hidden motives. What you're sensing isn't just people observing you, it's the universe itself keeping watch, guiding every detail of your story. When you carry a divine purpose, your life becomes sacred ground, and nothing connected to that purpose goes unseen. Every moment, every movement, every word you speak is part of a greater orchestration. You are not being monitored for punishment. You are being monitored for protection. The same gaze that feels heavy is the same force that shields you from what you can't yet see. You've reached a level of awareness where nothing is random anymore. Every silence, every delay, every detour is being tracked by divine intelligence. The universe is taking notes on your patience, on how you react when you feel misunderstood, on whether you'll remain kind when faced with cruelty. That's the true test of a chosen one. Your life is being observed not because you're under suspicion, but because you're being prepared for influence. Every reaction you give, every word you release into the world creates ripples that reach farther than you realize. You're not just being watched, you're being studied by destiny itself. Sometimes the observation feels like pressure. You wake up with a weight on your chest, a quiet reminder that you can't afford to go backward. That's because you're not only representing yourself anymore, you're representing a purpose. The universe has entrusted you with visibility for a reason. There are people you'll never meet who are watching your resilience and finding strength through it. Your endurance is teaching them survival. Your calmness under scrutiny is teaching them faith. Even your silence becomes instruction. That's why divine eyes stay fixed on you, to ensure the mission stays pure, even when the world gets loud. It's strange to realize that heaven and earth are both observing your path. The physical world studies your moves, but the spiritual realm measures your heart. When you do good in secret, when you forgive silently, when you choose peace over pride, those moments are not missed. They're recorded in the unseen, stored as energy that later returns to you as favor. You might think no one noticed, but the universe always does. Every hidden act of integrity becomes spiritual currency. Every private decision to remain kind when others would retaliate increases your protection. There are times you'll feel like someone's shadowing your thoughts, mirroring your emotions, or trying to anticipate your actions. That's not paranoia, it's perception. When you live at a higher vibration, your energy becomes visible to energies beyond the physical. Both light and dark pay attention to it, but here's the truth: light always dominates observation. The shadows might watch, but they can't cross the line of divine order. The boundaries around your life are spiritual, not material. They can see you, but they can't touch what's been sealed by divine purpose. This realization changes everything. You stop fearing eyes that watch and start respecting the presence that protects. You realize that not every eye is against you. Some are guiding, reminding, directing. There's a reason your intuition sharpens before something happens, a reason you feel an inner nudge to turn left instead of right, or to stay silent when provoked. Those aren't coincidences, they're instructions from a higher realm that sees the full picture. You're under supervision because you're under divine development. The same way a seed is watched carefully in its early stages, your growth is being observed to ensure that nothing sabotages it. You'll begin to understand that the awareness of being watched is actually a form of awakening. It trains you to live consciously, to act with intention, to choose integrity even when no one seems to be looking. You start to see how observation refines you. It makes you mindful of your energy, of your words, of your boundaries. You stop moving aimlessly and start moving deliberately because you know your life is not private chaos, it's sacred design. The watchers may see your steps, but only you and the universe know the reason behind them. When you reach this state, a new peace emerges. You no longer view attention as threat, you view it as accountability. You no longer fear eyes, you respect awareness. The heaviness lifts because you realize that being watched doesn't mean being trapped. It means being trusted. You were chosen because the universe knew you could carry visibility without losing humility. You can be seen and still stay grounded. You can be known and still stay pure. You've proven that light doesn't need to hide to remain safe. It only needs to stay aligned. Every chosen soul reaches this revelation. The eyes watching you can't determine your destiny. They can only witness it. Their attention cannot stop what's already been written. They may record your moves, but they can't predict your miracles. You've outgrown the need to hide because you understand that real power is never in secrecy, it's in sovereignty. Let them watch. The outcome belongs to the divine. So breathe easier now. You are not being stalked by fear, you are being followed by purpose. The universe has its gaze fixed on you, not to control you, but to crown you. Your path is sacred, your every step documented in light. What you feel around you isn't just scrutiny. It's confirmation that you are significant in the unseen. You're not losing privacy. You're gaining purpose. You were never invisible. You were simply being protected until the world was ready to see what you were meant to become. You begin to realize now that being watched was never a curse. It was preparation. Every eye that lingered on your path, every whisper behind your back, every curious glance from those who tried to read your spirit, they all played a role in your refinement. Observation forced you to evolve in silence, to grow in places where applause was absent. You learned how to build without validation, how to stand firm without witnesses, how to trust your own intuition when no one believed in you. What they meant as surveillance became your training ground. You became sharp, disciplined, and unshakable. The energy around you feels different now. The same eyes that once monitored you for weakness now stare in confusion. They don't understand how someone could rise without revenge, succeed without seeking approval, or glow without noise. But that's the secret of divine transformation. It's subtle but unstoppable. You're no longer driven by the need to be seen, you're driven by purpose. You walk like someone who has nothing to prove and everything to protect. That calm confidence is what unsettles them the most. They can't read you anymore because you've stopped living in frequencies they can access. You used to fear visibility, thinking that being noticed made you vulnerable. But now you understand that exposure is elevation. Light naturally draws attention. It's not your fault that the world can't look away. Your spirit has matured. You no longer crave invisibility. You simply crave alignment. Every movement, every silence, every boundary you create is intentional. You've learned to let them watch because you know they can't interfere. They might observe your surface, but the roots of your journey are buried too deep in divine soil to be touched. People will try to analyze your piece as if it's a performance. They'll wonder if it's real, how you manage to stay so composed under pressure. They'll think you've changed. And you have. You've changed direction. You've stopped feeding drama and started feeding destiny. You've chosen silence over explanation, detachment over argument, elevation over reaction. Those choices have built a shield around you that even hidden eyes can't penetrate. Every time they tried to study you, they ended up witnessing their own reflection in your light. The truth is, your watchers were never your problem. They were your confirmation. The more attention you received, the clearer it became that you were walking the right path. No one watches mediocrity. Eyes turn only toward movement, purpose, and authenticity. You've been observed because you are evidence that faith works. You are proof that transformation is real. You carry the frequency of awakening, and it draws curiosity like a magnet. They don't just want to know what you're doing, they want to know how you're becoming. Now, you move differently. You protect your peace as though it's gold, because it is. You understand that not every energy deserves access to your process. You reveal less, feel more, and trust deeply in timing. When you speak, your words land heavier. When you act, your impact lasts longer. That's the reward of spiritual discipline. Observation once drained you, now it fuels you. You've learnt to let attention become energy rather than pressure. Every gaze that falls upon you now amplifies your purpose. The more they look, the more you glow, the more they question, the more you ascend. You'll notice that life begins to rearrange itself around your growth. The universe removes people quietly, closes doors softly, and redirects your focus without chaos. This is divine organization. You've reached a level where you no longer chase outcomes, you attract alignment. You no longer fight for space, you create it. The observers will keep watching, but from a distance they cannot cross. They're witnessing divine balance in motion, how someone once broken became unbreakable. Every chosen soul reaches this threshold, the moment when they stop defending their energy and start embodying it. You no longer need to hide your light to feel safe. You can walk boldly, knowing that visibility is not exposure when your protection is spiritual. Let them analyze your silence. Let them question your peace. None of it matters, because you've learned that true power is not in resistance, it's in mastery. You don't react to energy anymore. You transmute it. You don't seek validation. You carry it within you. And soon, those who once monitored your every move will begin to fade. Their curiosity will tire. Their obsession will lose purpose. Because there's nothing left to decode. You've become what they feared you would. Free, uncontrollable, aligned. You move with grace through visibility, untouchable through purity, powerful through peace. You no longer hide from the gaze of the world, because you understand that light was born to be seen. And you were born to be the reminder that what's real can never be replicated. There comes a moment when you stop feeling watched and start feeling guided. The energy that once felt invasive now feels purposeful. You no longer flinch when eyes are on you. Instead, you walk with steady calm, knowing that everything unfolding is a part of divine order. What once felt like surveillance has turned into supervision. You've moved from being studied to being protected, from being questioned to being understood by higher forces. The universe no longer needs to test your awareness, it now trusts your discernment. You've learned what few ever do. Peace isn't the absence of attention, it's mastery over your reaction to it. You've crossed the invisible line between fear and wisdom. You used to think being watched was a trap. Now you see it as a mirror. The ones who observe you are not controlling your destiny, they are confirming it. Their curiosity became your motivation. Their doubt became your drive, and their silence became the echo that strengthened your intuition. The test was never about them. It was about how deeply you could remain grounded when your energy became impossible to ignore. And you passed. You proved that peace can exist under pressure, that humility can coexist with power, and that silence can roar louder than attention. You understand now that your visibility is a vessel. Every eye that fell upon you was guided there for a reason. Some to learn, some to envy, and some to awaken. They watched you walk through storms they thought would drown you, only to see you rise from them glowing. They saw you lose things you loved and still smile. They saw you stand alone and still walk forward. Whether they realized it or not, their observation became their lesson. Because what they were witnessing wasn't just resilience, it was rebirth. The universe uses visibility to reveal truth. It allowed eyes to follow you so that deception could expose itself, envy could exhaust itself, and false love could reveal its limits. You needed to be seen so you could learn discernment, not just of people, but of purpose. You learned how to recognize the difference between being noticed and being valued. You discovered that attention means nothing if it doesn't come with respect, and that silence often carries more love than flattery ever will. Observation showed you what to let go of, and protection showed you what to hold close. The ones who still watch you now do so in awe, not control. They can't explain how you kept your peace, how you never retaliated, how you moved forward without bitterness. That's the brilliance of divine balance. Your growth became your response. You don't need to prove a thing. You've already answered their questions by simply existing in truth. They'll keep watching, but this time not to judge, this time to understand how grace works.